We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask him to send peace and blessing his beloved and our beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallaho, alayhi. First chapter is, we're just finishing the section, Hadith, the narrations of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi, as explained by Shah Waliullah Rahimahullah ta'ala, on the issues related to the chapter of Juma. So the first, so we read about the khutbah and the timing and so forth. The permissibility of sitting in Juma while the Imam khutbah on something, so to sit with your arms around your legs, and also, or that something Sahaba radiallahu anhu used to do is they used to tie something like a shawl, tied like a chair, right? It's called the chair of the Arabs. So the furniture didn't exist like the way we have today. So a cloth was tied here, and then you just sit in it, right? So in Juma, right? So he said that it's reached that Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to do this in Juma, and the Imam was doing khutbah in the middle of the Juma. He was sitting like this. And Shah Waliullah says, commentating on this, that it's makruh to do this for the one, those who say it's makruh, if the person is going to fall asleep. If you know that you're going to fall asleep, that by sitting as like, you know you're tired, you know yourself. Some people, I don't think I've ever slept sitting up. Even I struggle flying in aeroplanes as well. But some people can sleep very easily sitting. You see them. We probably know people like that. They'll be just sitting and you hear them start snoring. So for those who they are habitual, they have a habit of falling asleep that easily. Then it's makruh for them to do this in Juma. The next section is, so these are very small chapters. It being mustahab for the people to face the Imam while he's giving khutbah. Imam Malik narrated, it is sunnah for the people to face the Imam, right? On the day of Jum'ah, when he intends to do khutbah. So when the khutbah starts, like here the minbar is there, right? So I'm pointing over there to the left. So that we turn towards the Imam. Now generally what do we do? What most people are doing? They turn towards the Qibla, right? But it's sunnah actually to face. I've seen my teacher, one in the mosques, like he's sitting in first saf, and it's on both sides. It's like the saf on the minbar is in the middle, and on both sides about this distance. And he's like sitting over there. And I saw him during khutbah, because he knows this, that during khutbah you see him do like it's 90 degrees, like fully to face the Imam to do this. Because that's part of listening properly. And that's for the people that are in front of him, like in the front saf, and also the people behind as well. And this is the view of the majority of the scholars. Whoever has some uzr, then he should take permission from the Imam. This is the next chapter. We take permission from the Imam in exiting, right? So during salat, you can ask my permission. If I'm leading salat, you can ask my permission. No, this is, Imam Malik narrates that it is not necessary for someone who has a blood nose, for whatever, someone has some uzr, reason that they have to leave. So for example, they're breaking their wudu, they're bleeding, whatever it is, whatever the thing that caused them to have to leave the salat or leave the khutbah, that he informed, that it's not necessary for him to inform the Imam. And then there's ayat of Quran in Surah Nur, ayat number 62, that when they are with him, meaning the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they're with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَإِذَا كَانُوا مَعُهُ عَلَى أَمْرٍ جَامِعٍ, on a matter of public importance, right? لَمْ يَذِبُ حَتَّى يَسْتَأْذِنُوا. They went out except they took permission from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this is in the matter of like war, jihad. So some have this ayat is that even for Jummah, because it's a public gathering, weekly public gathering. But others have said no, this is specific to jihad, because you have a commander. In that case, the commander was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. The idea that you can just go for a walk and leave your army and so forth, of course, this will not be proper discipline in a march to meet the enemy. Others said that this is not restricted. Things of public matter like Jum'ah and Nahar, like Salatul Eid, Salat Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr, Anyway, all these sort of things, that permission should be taken from the authority. Others said that this is only in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to take permission to leave the Juma khutbah. Obviously, it cannot apply to anything else. That in the Juma, that some Rasul with ishara will allow them to go. Because if you think about it, Imam al-Anbiya sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Masjid Nabawi is giving khutbah. Someone turns around and walks out of the masjid. It's not a small thing, right? To leave Rasulullah after you've come in for Juma, right? So they had the adab, and by extension, although it's not fard, but from that we understand that even we're in the gathering, then we do this with our ulama, and we take permission. We're in a classroom, nobody walks out of the classroom, makes an ishara. Maybe university, nobody cares, but like at school and in madrasas, yeah, the idea, like we have. Like putting the little finger up, and different ways to make, I'm going to go to the bathroom, without saying it, and ishara, and then like a nod comes from the teacher or ustaz or shaykh or whatever, for allow the person to think. But this is talking about specifically in the context of Juma. Person has to go, they don't have to wait for permission, right? They don't have to wait for permission, so they can go out let's say if they have a blood nose, for example. The section on being silent or silencing others and while the Imam is giving khutbah. Abu Zinad, Malik narrated from Abu Zinad, narrated from Arish, narrated from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you say to your companion, be quiet, and the Imam is giving khutbah in Juma, then you've done laghu, a vain talk, useless talk, unbeneficial talk. So you're not even allowed, if somebody's talking during Juma, they're not supposed to talk during Juma. People are not supposed to talk during Juma in order to keep silent. Someone is talking, doing something wrong, and you are correcting him to be quiet. Now you've done something wrong yourself by telling him to be quiet. So at most, a person should make an ishara. They can tap them, just a quick tap or make ishara. You can do that. Some imams say you can make ishara to indicate to them to be quiet, but you can't speak. He said, and be quiet. That's also going. So sometimes in doing one, trying to do the right thing, but we don't know the right way, then we do another wrong thing, right? So Imam Malik, because the hukm of being silent is for you as well, and as well for that person that's talking. So now that you're talking, you're doing the same thing as the other person. So it's even the intention might be well, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it's wrong, right? Its intention is not the only thing that counts. Act has to be right because you're disobeying an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab, narrated from Tha'ada, who narrated from Abi Malik al-Quradi, that is reaching that in the time of that they were in the time of Umar ibn Khattab, and they were praying Juma, and they were praying on the day of Juma until they were like doing nafal or sunnahs or before, until Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh came out. Obviously he's a Khalifa, but he's also the Khatib of Imam of Masjid Nabawi, the Imam of the Prophet's mosque, and then he came out for khutbah. When he came out and he sat on the mimbar, on the pulpit, the muadzinun, the muazzins, right? They gave adhan. So different muazzins were there from different sides. Even till very recently, before the speaker microphone, different minarets of the bigger mosques, they used to have one muazzin, one minaret. All these big Jama masjid that we have in Delhi, Lahore, all these cities around Cairo, the Jama masjid, the big Jama masjid, they used to have multiple muadzinun because to reach that side, because the voice wouldn't reach naturally, right? So the muadzinun, they gave the adhan, and Tha'laba said, we sat down and we were speaking. When the muazzin became silent, then Umar started khutbah, then we became silent. And none of us spoke while he gave khutbah. There's ikhtilaf, and this will come up in a second, that at what point do we stop speaking? So Imam's different. Some say as soon as the Imam climbs up, so there's different riwayat, as soon as he goes up for the mimbar, all talk. Even if you're on the street, if you hear the adhan and the Imam is up, you stop speaking. Right? You're not to talk, even you're walking to the masjid. Like sometimes we're walking with our friends here, Jummah's already started, Imam's already in the mimbar, let's say he's doing khutbah. You're supposed to stop talking from the moment you can hear. You're supposed to stop speaking, even if you're on the street, right? That also applies to the samosa guys. That applies to the donation collectors. It applies. I don't know what. I'm standing on the member. I can see outside people are talking, having chit chats, and they're doing whispering. It doesn't make a difference, right? So like like the Arabic, usually the khutbah part is only about like 5 to 10 minutes, on average. Like it's not very long, extensive. So 5 to 10 minutes, we should discipline ourselves. We should teach. Our communities should go through courses. Masjid committees. I'm not just talking about Ummah Center. I'm talking about like Ummah. There is no course for them. There's no course for them on how to be a committee of a masjid, right? The intentions are good. They built the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then what do you do with the house of Allah? Right? Alhamdulillah, a lot of it is just learning on the go. Like, is there a course for them, a qualification for a person? Right? The Imam at least has gone through some madrasa training. His ustaz have trained him how to lead salat. He knows the ahkam of tahara. He knows he knows the ahkam of khutbah. What is the minimum requirements of khutbah? He's got his some qualification or training that is done for that part. Well, all of this, it's the corporate guy will run it like a corporate thing. The butcher will run it like a butchery. The taxi driver will run it like a taxi business. Everyone just putting their own version of how the masjid should be run. People add their own flavor to how house of Allah should be, what the house of Allah should be, or how a Islamic center, because it has a broader scope. But then, if it's an Islamic center, quote unquote, then what do you do with it? And the model, of course, goes back to the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should be thinking what's happening there. You're going to get a few flashes of what was happening, what was the expectation, what was the norms of the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how men conduct themselves, how women conduct themselves in the masjid. We talked about this previously. So the imams differ on what point. Some say that the only part not to speak is when the imam starts the khutbah. So the adhan part is not included, the dua part is not included in the second Juma. Only the part where he's giving the speech, that no one is to speak. But better to get out of ikhtilaf, as soon as the imam goes up until he comes down, to not, and alhamdulillah, most people, this is what they practice. From till he goes up, till he comes down, no one actually speaks. He said that Ibn Shahab's, rahimahullah, said that the khuruj of imam, the coming imam comes out. So where does he come out? From his house, right? Because the doors of Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were attached to the masjid, like Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam's door, some Sahaba door, and they or the room that they're coming out, the hujra, or they're coming out. So there's a door that they come out of the room to the hall of the masjid. So Imam Ibn Shihab noted that the imam coming out cuts off any salat. People stop their salat, right? And the speech, his speech cuts off all talking, right? As a rule, right? So then what about the hadith of praying the 2 rakat where Rasulullah told? So there's a difference of opinion among the imams about this. That Rasulullah told the person to get up and pray 2 rakat. Some imams interpret this as that this is specific to this person. Others say no, this is for everybody. That when they come into the masjid. I asked my father rahmatullah alayhi about this. He said, because he was a Hanafi alim, so he said that, khutbah, to listen to the khutbah is wajib, to pray the salat is sunnah or nafil, right? So which one takes a high precedence? The khutbah, right? Based on just by mere logic of the things, so therefore you should sit down and listen to khutbah, which is higher. The Hanafi imams, and they argue their point that when the khutbah is there, you should sit down, no salat to be prayed, because that person being told to pray is specific to that person. So there's ikhtilaf on the narrations. Imam Malik narrated that he asked Ibn Shihab about speech on the day of Juma when the imam descends, when the imam sits on the minbar. Before he starts his speech, he said there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously this is according to Imam Ibn Shihab view. Imam Malik is narrated for Ibn Shihab, that he felt that only the time that you cannot speak is when the imam is actually speaking, which is a very short amount of time. If you think about it, from the time the imam gets up at the minbar, azan is done in front, you're talking about like a minute, like a gap, right? So it's not a huge thing in terms of time. Imam Malik narrated from the freed slave of Umar bin Ubaydullah, who narrated from Malik bin Abi Amir, Uthman ibn Affan. He used to say in his khutbah, and rarely he left this out in his khutbah, right? He used to regularly say this. So this is a quote from his khutbah. When the imam does khutbah on the day of Jum'ah, listen to him and become silent, right? The one that can hear him, right, is the same as the one that can hear him that's in front of him. The one who's silent. So do you understand? Like, if you're, let's say in the old days, you're so far away you can't even hear the khatib, but you know khutbah is going on. You heard the adhan, the second adhan. You heard the second adhan. You know khutbah is going on. Then you are the same as a person who's sitting in front of the imam who can hear the khutbah. Remember, in old days, there's no speakers or microphones. So if you're far away, you can't even hear what the khatib is saying. But you're in the same hukam of the Juma. Imam Malik narrated from Nafi that Abdullah bin Umar, he saw two men that were speaking, and the Imam was giving the khutbah on the day of Juma. So he took small pebbles. Remember, the mosque of Rasulullah ﷺ was bare dirt. In that there were stones. He picked up the stone, he flicked it at them. He didn't speak to them, right? He flicked them, stone, like hit them with a stone, like to be quiet, to be silent. From fire, because instead of getting it, like he just like threw a little stone at them, just to silence them, right? I mean, we don't have any stones here, so to throw at anybody. I mean, there are people every Jum'ah, and like I'm there, I can't do nothing because they don't know I'm talking. Like I can see them, like they can act like they're usually over there. Some major decision needs to be made about the biryani or the cupcakes or whatever it is that's going on outside, and it's like they couldn't do that 5 minutes before, or they can do it during the English talk, because that's not technically the Juma. The English talk before is not Juma. They can talk as much as they want, whatever they need to do. At 5-10 minutes, they need to be disciplined and not speak no matter what, unless it's like an emergency situation. Imam Malik narrated reaching that a man sneezed on the day of Jum'ah or during the khutbah, and Imam was giving khutbah, and someone said Yarhamukallah, right? The dua, someone said Alhamdulillah Yarhamukallah in next to him. And Sa'id bin Musayyib, when he was asked about this, he prevented us, don't ever repeat that again. Don't do that again. So this is a sunnah, that it's a haqq of a person. They say Alhamdulillah, you say Yarhamukallah. There's a dua, the sunnah dua for the person. But during Jum'ah khutbah, it's not to be done. During Jum'ah khutbah, he said don't do it. Sa'id bin Musayyib, just so you know, considered from the khayr al-tabi'een, probably the most senior, like Hassan Basri, Uwais Qarni, and Sayyid Musayyib. These are the three most senior of the tabi'een, Madinah Munawwarra. Abu Hurairah, son-in-law, so Abu Hurairah is his father-in-law. So, and one of the great muhaddiseen, fuqaha, jurists of Madinah Munawwarra, a great scholar, one of the giants, the top three of the tabi'een, the second generation of Islam. So when he's giving a ruling, it's not. We also understand what type of scholar and jurist is giving the ruling. He said that don't do this again. And Shah Waliullah said, "Qultu, upon this are the people of knowledge." That he's quoting the Shafi school, Shah Waliullah, that you should not, if someone speaks, then he should not be stopped except by indication. Like Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu did, like with the stone. There is ikhtilaf regarding this difference opinion about replying to salam and yarhamukallah. There's different views on this, and then he mentioned it from Fatawa al-Amgiriyah, Fatawa Hindiya, in the Hanafi fiqh. When the Imam comes out, there is no speech, there's no salat, and the Imam comes out to give khutbah. Until he finishes, he starts salat, then it gets down, then there is no speech. And just finish this last section. What's to be read in the qira'ah in Salatul Jumu'ah? Which surahs to be read? Imam Malik narrated from Damra bin Sa'id al-Mazini, and narrated from Ubaydullah bin Abdullah bin Utbah bin Mas'ud, Dahhak bin Qais. He asked Nu'man bin Bashir that what did Rasulullah ﷺ read in Jum'ah? And he said that he used to read Halataka Hadith al-Ghashiyah, right? And he said Ibn Hajib said is mustahab in the first rakah to Surah Jum'ah. So after Jum'ah, in the first rakah, Surah Jum'ah was read. There's a chapter, Surah al-Jum'ah of the Quran. In the second, Halataka or Sabbih Isma Rabbika or Munafiqun, that he used to read Jum'ah and Munafiqeen, at times. And Sabbih Isma Rabbika al-A'la, Surah al-Ghashiyah, Halataka Hadith al-Ghashiyah, in some, as in narrated in Sahih Muslim. According to the Hanafi, it's makruh to fix something from the Quran for specific salat. Like in this salat, you should be reading this makruh, right? And it's explained in the Al-Amgiriyah, Fatawa Hindiya. Like you can read it, you can read any of the Quran. So since it is not restricted, the Sunnah, even though Rasulullah read these, and you can read them to follow this, because you're doing tabarrukan to follow in the Sunnah of Rasul, you're rewarded, right, to get the blessings of reading the qira'ah of Rasulullah. But it should not be seen, because then the jahil the ignorant person, will think that nothing is permitted except for this. And you see this, things get established in the community as a sunnah, like the Imam does dua in certain communities, dua is done, the Imam does dua after salat. If you don't do it, your Imam, like they'll send you home, like the committee will send you home, like you have to do it. Because he saw his father do it, grandfather do it in the mosque. There's nothing wrong with the dua, but the thing is now you've instituted to the point of that you made it. Like someone said to my father, Rahimahullah, when he was Imam here, he said that, we're from such a community and after the tasbih has to be done and Jama'ah has to be done and so forth. My father, Rahimahullah, said, listen, I can do salam and I can walk out of the masjid, go to my house, do nothing. And that's according to the sunnah. Specifically in the Hanafi school, like, because that salat like Zuhr where there's sunnah afterwards, the tasbihat and adhkar should be done when? Not after the fard salat, but after the sunnah salat. And Rasulullah ﷺ always prayed his sunnah where? At home. So that means there's no tasbihat done at home. Based on that, if you extrapolate and put it together, that means according to the Hanafis, then you should pray the better sunnah is to pray sunnah in the house and then do your tasbihat there. So I can do salam, I can just walk out of the mosque and I've done something according to the sunnah. Right? So, but people will insist on certain things because they don't know. But the chapter on whoever catches one rak'ah of Juma, then what should he do afterwards? Should he pray another rak'ah or he's only got one rak'ah on Juma? So Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab who said, whoever gets the Salatul Juma, one rak'ah of Juma, then he should pray another rak'ah. So he's got Juma, that means he prayed the first rak'ah with he came late, he missed one rak'ah, he prayed the first rak'ah with the Imam, and then he prayed his second rak'ah, stood up like normally as we do. Imam Malik said, and Ibn Shihab quoting Imam Malik said that, and quoting Imam Ibn Shihab, he said this sunnah. Yahya said that Imam Malik said, upon this I found the people of knowledge of my land, of my country. What's he referring to? It's Madinah Munawwarra, right? In his time, that I found the scholars, the people of knowledge of my land, Madinah Munawwarra. Madinah Munawwarra is not any. One, of course, is that's the first center of the Muslims. It's but also the scholars of Islam, the early scholars, a large proportion of them, they're based in Madinah Munawwarra, right? So when the Ahlul Ilm he's talking about, he's not talking about just like us, like local imams, like we're of Melbourne, let's say. He's talking about the children, students, freed slaves of Sahaba and Tabi'een. Right? People who took knowledge that there's only one or two people between him, Imam Malik and Rasulullah ﷺ. So that's the type of scholars he's talking about, the early mujtahids of Madinah Munawwarra. And I found that the scholars of Madinah Munawwarra, that they were upon this, that they pray. If you miss the one rakat, then وَذَلِكَ أَنَّ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ قَالَ مَنْ أَدْرَكَ, and then they narrate a hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ. Whoever gets a rak'ah, then he's got the salat. This is a general, it's not talking about Juma. We're talking in the context of Juma. Rasulullah ﷺ said, whoever gets one rak'ah, then he's got the salat. If he got one rak'ah, right, then he's got the salat. I say that upon this is majority of the people knowledge, that whoever gets one rak'ah complete, then he just adds another rak'ah and his Jummah is complete. And if he doesn't get the one rak'ah, then he prays 4. He doesn't get even one rak'ah, like he got it after the ruku of the second, right? Imam Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, glad tidings for the Hanafis, even if you get there before tashahhud, before salam, you've got the Jummah. You understand? The other madahib, they missed it. They missed it. That's why the Hanafis are so late at Jummah. In this mosque I've noticed, observed. I'm just saying. And they're not. And they're from one specific place. They're from my place, right? They're from my place. I don't know why. I see them every Jummah. They come. I catch them every. Once I don't know what was happening. Jummah was very late or early. And I saw all those my people that were coming. I don't know why they were coming last minute, maybe because of work or something. But anyway, the last, if you get the in the Hanafi fiqh, if you get before salam, you've got the Jummah, you pray 2 rakat. The Imam said no, you 4. And just the last, there's a long hadith. Maybe I'll stop there. Let me finish this section on Jummah, if you don't mind. The time when the dua is accepted on Jummah. Imam Malik narrated from Zinad al-A'raj, who narrated from Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who narrated from A'raj, who narrated from Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mentioned the day of Jummah, and he said, in it is an hour, a moment, right? In it is a moment that never does a slave Allah come in line with it, right? A Muslim slave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's standing and praying, and he asked Allah for something, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give it to him. Right? And he said, like, with his hand, like it's very little, like it's a moment, small moment that comes with his fingers. He indicated it's like a very small amount, right? Small amount of time that is there. Imam Malik narrated from Yazid bin Abdullah bin Had Muhammad ibn Ibrahim and Haris Tamimi, who narrated from Abu Salama Abdul Rahman, who narrated from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He said, I went to Tur and I met Ka'b al-Ahbar, and I sat with him. See, these are companions of the Prophet meeting. And I narrated to him he narrated to me from the Tawrat, because he was a people of the book before, so he had more knowledge of that. And I narrated to him from what? What Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrate? What's he? Hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's famous for the most memorized from the Sahaba radiallahu anhu is Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. And I narrated Hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And because when I narrated this to him, he used to say, he said to me that Rasulullah, Abu Hurairah said, one of the narrations that he narrated him, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best day in which the sun rises, the day of Juma, in it Adam alayhi salam was created, in it he was sent out into this world, in it his tawbah was accepted, in it he passed away, in it the day of Qiyamah will be established. And in this day, because it is the day of the Qiyamah, there's no animal except that it knows its reality and is fearful from the day of judgment in this, except for human being and jinn. They are not scared. In Juma, they're not worried. And in it, there's an hour that if a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prays, the word they use is yusalli. And yusalli has two meanings in Arabic. One is salat, like we pray Fatiha, and the other meaning is of salat, dua. So yusalli. And he asks anything. So that explains to you, is this the linguistic? Because now salat has replaced the original meaning. Salat for Muslims today has become the official meaning now in Arabic. When you say salat, it immediately comes salat 5 times praise. So it's become the technical term of Sharia has become the main linguistic term. But the main linguistic meaning originally was dua. And he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him, except that never does he ask anything of Allah in that moment, except that Allah will give him. Ka'b said, this is once in a year. I said, no, every Juma. And then Ka'b, he read the Tawrat, and he said the Prophet ﷺ told the truth. Then Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, I met Busra bin Busra al-Ghafari, and he said, where have you come from? He said, from Tur. And he said, he goes, if you came to see me before you went out there, right? If you came to see, you would not have gone there. I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, never does a person set out on a journey. He should not set out on a journey except for 3 masajid: Masjid al-Haram, this masjid of mine, and Masjid Iliya or Bayt al-Maqdis, Masjid al-Aqsa. Right? He wasn't sure in the wording. Is Masjid Iliya? It's the same. Masjid Iliya, Bayt al-Masjid, Masjid Bayt al-Maqdis is the same. But the Rawi wasn't sure. He doubted the word. He couldn't remember the word that was used. Then Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, then I met Abdullah bin Salam, and I narrated to him about Majlis with Ka'b Ahbar. And I said, I narrated to him about the day of Jum'ah. And he said, and Ka'b said, this is once in a year. And Abdullah bin Salam said, Kadhiba Ka'b, Ka'b has lied. And he said to him that, then Ka'b said, he read the Tawrat, and he said that it's every Jum'ah. Then he says, Sadaqa Ka'b. Ka'b is told it to Abdullah bin Salam, one of the Sahabi radiallahu anhu. He was a Yahudi, he's from the people of the book, and he became Muslim. Right? So, and he goes, then he said that he affirmed that he told the truth. And then Abdullah bin Salam said, do you know which hour it is? Abu Hurairah said, فَقُلْتُ لَهُ أَخْبِرْنِي بِهَا وَلَا, like he said, inform me, like don't hold anything back, tell me what it is. Abdullah bin Salam said, it is the last moment of the day of Jummah, at the end of the day. So there's ikhtilaf on the timing of this. When exactly it is. Is it between the 2 khutbahs? There's a different narrations if you put them all together. So he said that, but he said that it's in the last hour that Rasulullah ﷺ said that Muslim prays and his dua is not rejected. So then look at I said, how can this be? What's the objection here? He said, Abu Hurairah said, how can that be when it's in the last hour and Rasulullah ﷺ has told us not to pray in that time? Because the hadith, the actual hadith says that you pray in that time, do salat. Look at Abdullah bin Salam, his answer. He said, didn't Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that when anybody sits waiting for the next salat, that he's in salat? There's a Sahaba talking amongst each other, because one Sahabi an objection, like they're taking the hadith directly from Rasulullah. These are fuqaha sitting. This is not Tom, Dick and Harry sitting and talking. These are the jurists. One is a muhaddis, one is a faqih, the imams, the scholars of the Torah and Injil, and they're sitting and they're having a discussion, right? And the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they're Muslims, all of them, and they're scholars, imams of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they're having a fiqh discussion. So he gives, then what is Abdullah bin Salam, he gives such a beautiful dalil. He said, didn't Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that man jalasa majlisan yantadhiru fi salata fahuwa fi salat hatta yusalli, that a person who sits, waits for a salat, he is in the salat until he actually prays the salat. Didn't he say that? Then Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, because muhaddis, he knows the hadith, he said, bala, verily, surely, like yeah, of course. And qala fahuwa, then it's like that. Then that's it. Like that was his dalil and argument. Qala al-Muhalli, Jalaluddin Muhalli is one of the two Jalalains, right? Great muhaddis of the Shafi'i school, great faqih, mufassir. He said that yakthiru min du'a yawm al-Jum'ah rajan yusadir sa'at al-ijaba. He said the person should make a lot of dua on the day of Jum'ah so that it lines up. All right? Like Jum'ah's already started, right? Jum'ah started at Maghrib time until tomorrow Maghrib. This is Jum'ah. Right? So in this time we should capitalize, make as much after Salat, wherever you get a chance, we'll make a lot of dua in this time. So this is what he said, Imam, one of the great fuqaha, that since there's ikhtilaf, then what do? All right, we take all on board and we make as much dua as possible wherever we can, as much as we can, wherever we can, inshallah. This time may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding. And also, finally, is the night of Jum'ah. The best action after the fara'id, in the night of the Jum'ah and the day of Jum'ah, is to increase from salat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, durud on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should take this opportunity tonight. I have one friend overseas, Mufti Sahib. He sends me 5 minutes after Maghrib on Friday night, because he's in South Africa. I said, at least you send me 15, 20, half an hour ago. Then I would have actually got the reward of doing it on Jum'ah. Because he's praying Jum'ah Salat there. Then he sends a message out to all over the world. We're in Australia, mahrumin, mahrum, like we get reminded. I said, Jum'ah's already finished. I said, you should do it on the night of Jum'ah. I told him, you should do it on the night of Jum'ah, send these reminders out so that we can. But then in the other countries, it's not even Jum'ah. It's not even Jum'ah night yet. So then he has to do one especially for Australians. But anyway, on the night of Eve of Jum'ah and the day of Jum'ah, the best action to do other than the fard acts is to do salawat. So the least is you can say sallallaho alayhi wa sallam. Very easy. It's a short salat on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Just short, like a few minutes a person can say in the night. The best action that a person can do in this day is salat on the Prophet. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and tawfiq.